Hey there, what's going on? I'm Tim Martin, and this is Real Website Hints. This is a web design tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make this great bar website right here. What I like about this design is it's simple, classic design with a couple little twists thrown in, and it can be applied to a lot of different kinds of websites, not just a restaurant or bar website. So what we've got here at the top, we've got a very classic, clean header design, which I really like, really easy to read, gets the basic message about what your website's about right up there, right in front. It's a great thing. Then as you scroll down a little bit, you're gonna see that there's this fade into this image. I'll show you how I created that. As you scroll down a little bit farther, we've got this side-by-side section where I put a slash in between the two sections, just sort of differentiate it and make it a little bit more exciting. So if you wanna learn how I made this page, let's go ahead and do it. So this tutorial assumes that you've already got WordPress installed and probably that you've got the Divi theme installed. I like to use the Divi theme because I think it's one of the easiest ways to build great looking web pages. Now, if you're brand new and you haven't gotten your website set up, go ahead and check out my free tutorial series where I'll walk you through exactly how to get hosting, how to set up WordPress, and how to set up and configure the Divi theme, and then you'll be ready to start with this tutorial. If you want to get the Divi theme, or if you want to check it out for yourself, if you don't have it already, check out the links below, and I've got an affiliate link to the Divi theme. If you use that link and you decide to get the Divi theme, I'll be provided with a small commission, which helps me make free tutorials like this and provide free website templates like this one right here, which I offer on my website to people just like you. So I thank you for your support, and if you're ready to dive in and start making this website, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by going over to the dashboard. And then we're gonna go over to pages. I'm gonna add a new page. And let's give it a page a name. Okay, and then we wanna use the Divi builder because that's what I like to use because it makes it so easy to build pages with. And let's go ahead and click on Use Visual Builder. I really like to use the Visual Builder because I just think, for me, I really need to see what I'm doing in order to get a sense of whether the design's working or not. And then I like to just go ahead and start, since I already know what my background is going to be, go ahead and start by adding a background. So click on the little gear icon here in the blue section. So that's like the main section. The green areas are rows if you're new to using the Divi theme. Click on background, and then to add, you can add a color here, you can do a gradient, but we want to add a image background. So we're going to click on image, then click on the plus icon, scroll down until you find the image. So all of the images that I've loaded have already been optimized, and it's really important that you optimize the images before you put them on your website. There are a couple of plugins that will optimize the images for you on your website already, but I just like to do it myself so I can see the quality, see what's happening, but you at least want to make sure that you crop it down to sort of the size that you need. So for this, I'm using 1920 by 1280. I think I probably could have made it a little bit smaller, maybe using a width of 1280 instead, or maybe even 1080 probably would have been sufficient. But the smaller you make your images and the more you compress them, the faster your website's gonna load, and that's gonna be the main thing that's gonna help your website speed. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and add this image to the background, click on upload, and then check. You can see that it's already being added in, so that's great. And next, let's go ahead and start by adding in that text that we want. So it's gonna be the name of our company, in this case it's Great Bar. So click on the plus icon in the row, and then we need to choose how we want this row divided up. So we can have by half, by thirds, all of these other options. I just want one full width row. And then we can just type in what we're looking for. So we're looking for a text module. So click on text. And then I want this to be heading 1. And then let's go over to the design to change the design of this. So since we made it a heading, let's go to header text. And then I want to change this font here to Cardo. One of the great things about the Divi theme is you do get all of these other fonts. So we're going to go over to Cardo. Let's change the size. I want it pretty big, so let's make it 72 or so. Let's change the color, the sort of default color. I want it to be 2 colors, but we'll change the default color. Let's go ahead and make this white. And let's center this text here since we want it to be in the center. One of the ways to control the font colors, if you want 2 different font colors, is actually using the front end part of the builder. Because if you go back to the back end builder here, you can select the font or the text here, and you can change the color, but you're limited by these colors here. And if you followed some of my other tutorials, you know that I'm a big fan of creating your own custom color palette. I think it's what makes a website design look like it was designed by a professional is by having a color palette. And I'm not really a design expert, but I do know how to cheat a little bit. So I put together a tutorial that'll show you how to make your own color palette and make it look like it was designed by a designer. So the color palette that I'm using for this website, this color palette right here. So the way I decided on this color palette was based on the colors of the images that I'm using. Now, if you're doing this for your own business, you probably have a logo in mind. You probably already created a logo. So you probably want to start with maybe your logo color. That's what I usually recommend. So we can't really make this the color I want with this tool here, but we can do it with the Divi theme. So we just click on check for OK. And then we're just going to highlight, whoops. Just going to highlight the text here. And then we're going to use the little paint bucket tool. And I've already, in Divi, I've already modified this theme to have sort of my custom colors here. So I've already picked this here as my custom color. So you can just check on that and then just click close to close this, or you can push escape. And then when you've started editing text like this, we've got this text bar that's following us around. With the Divi theme, you can always just push escape to get out of something. So just click on the escape key and that'll get you out of this. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is sort of add our bar's tagline. So click on a new module here. Add new module. We're going to type in text again to get to the text module. And then I'm going to type in our tagline. Now this is just a fictitious company, so I made up my own tagline. This might be an okay tagline to use, but depending on the kind of business you're in, if you're trying to optimize for your search engine optimization, you might want to make this tagline something that relates to specifically what your business does and maybe what people are going to be searching for related to your business. Bump up the font size here. Let's make it nice and big. Let's go about 63. Then change the text orientation to center. You can always move these windows around so you can see what you're doing. And then let's go ahead and add one more text bar, and we'll include our address. Now, this is something with the Divi theme. As you can see here, I've got the plus for the row and the plus to add a new text module in the same place. And yes, that is super annoying. And I'm hoping that they're going to get the builder to be a little bit better and sort of figure out that these little problems here happen. But just take a breath and remember that the Divi theme offers a lot of different ways to adjust things. So what I like to do when something like this happens is you can just click on the three dots on the bottom here, and then we can go to the wireframe view, and we can click on plus here, and then we can add in our text. I know that's super annoying, but the Divi theme for me, even with these little annoyances, they've given you enough workarounds to work around it, and I still really enjoy using it because I can see what I'm doing. I've got so much different controls, so I'm willing to put up with the annoyances. And let me tell you, I've tried a lot of different themes and plugins, and they all have their little annoyances and idiosyncrasies. So it's just a matter of working with it and working with the theme and the tool that you have and learning how to use it. And then I'm going to go back to the desktop view. Just click on the desktop view down here, text here. So let's go ahead and modify this. And now I want to have a little bit of separation between the title and the tagline and then the text. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some padding above the address text. So let's go ahead and do that. We can just close this text thing and we click on spacing here. We can add a custom margin or custom padding. I guess I'll actually use the custom margin here. So let's make this 100. Let's make it a little bit more. Let's make it 200. There we go. So that gives us some nice space. Let's see what that looks like. So just click check here. And then let's add a little bit more space above this first text here so we can see a little bit more of the image. Let's click on settings, design, scroll down to spacing. Let's make this 200. So far this is looking pretty good. The text is a little bit hard to read because the image in the background is a little bit too bright. So to fix that, one of the things that I like to do is go over to our row here and just make the row full width. So go over to row, click on design, sizing, click on design, sizing, and then make this row full width. And now we can go over to the content section. We can go to background. We can add a background color in, make this black. And we'll fix the spacing around it here in just a minute, but we can use the transparency slider and sort of get a nice look so we can read all the text and make it nice and really easy to read. And then let's just sort of fix the spacing around here. So click on settings again, then design. Okay, and then go down here to gutter width, use custom gutter width, and then set this to 1. So that's gonna make that part full width. And then we can just adjust the padding here for the main section by just dragging it. And you can also go in, of course, to the settings and change that. There we go. So now that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and start with the next section. Okay, so I'm going to do a new section here. So I'm going to click on the blue plus sign to do a new section. Regular. And then we want this split. Then we want this split 50-50. Let's click on 50-50. And scroll down here. So let's do text. Add in a text module. So the first part of our text here is going to be. So I'm just going to change the background color for the whole section here. Click on background. And now the color I've picked here, I picked on purpose. It's a dark blue color. And that's because I've got this image here that I'm going to use where in Photoshop, I faded in this exact same color. So it looks like the image fades in from the background, even though it's actually going to be two separate sections. Let's go ahead and keep working on this. All right, so we've got our background here. Let's add another text section. All right, let's go over here to design and fix this up a little bit. Make the color light since we've got a dark background. And then for the second section, we're going to add an image, but I'm actually going to use an image background on that part of the row. Let's go ahead and do that. So first off, we're going to want to make this row full width so that the image goes across the full width. Design. Sizing, make this row full width. Check. So we'll go back to the row settings here, and then we'll do background, and we want to scroll down here to column background 2 and make this an image. Already created this image and uploaded it here. Here it is. You can see the fade that's already built into the image. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Now we just need to make this image go full height here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the first step to doing that is let's just get rid of the spacing. Now we can either do that by going into the settings, design, spacing, and then clearing up the padding here like this. See how that takes that away. Or we can also just sort of get the green box highlighted here, and we can adjust the padding here. We need to do the same thing with the blue box here, which I already did, is adjust the padding here. Okay, so just clean that all up, do the same thing on the bottom since we want this image here to be full height. And now we need to create a little bit of space around the text here. So to do that, I'm going to use the spacing on the text. All right, there we go. So now we got some good space around the text. We can see our image clearly. And one of the things that I see like new website builders have a hard time with, and that is responsive websites. So Divi allows you to make responsive websites, but what that means is if you look back here at the screen, is as we drag and change the size of the window, which is what's going to happen when your viewers are looking at your website, they're going to be opening it up in all sorts of different size windows and different size devices and things like that. It's going to change the way your website looks a little bit. So you've got to sort of take like a breath and like not be so concerned about getting everything to look exactly right, get the spacing exactly right. You got to leave a little wiggle room because everything's going to be moving around a little bit with a responsive website. And that's great because that means that your website's going to be able to be viewed on any size window, any size device, and it's going to look good. It's just a matter of making sure you allow that space around there so that it does look good. So now one thing that I did notice now that I moved it around like that is that we got a little space over here, so let's fix that also. So we're gonna go over here to settings, and this is just kind of how the design process works and why I like using Divi, so you can see what you're doing while you're doing it, so you can sort of see these problems as it's happening. And this is definitely how I design. It's very much sort of, you know, you look at it and then you adjust and look at it and adjust until you get the look that you're looking for. So let's change the gutter width here to 1. There we go. That should resolve that issue there. Now it created some sort of an issue here. So let's go over here to this handcrafted thing. Let's just put some space down below that. All right, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and add another section. So we're gonna get the blue box highlighted and then click on plus and then do regular. And then we're gonna do one full width or one single row section here. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new section below this, just a regular section. And I'm doing this and making another section right below that menu because I know I want to use the menu on the mobile version of this site, but since we're doing this sort of double side-by-side look with these slashes, I already know that that's not going to work on mobile, so we're going to have to do a separate design using basically the same information, but just a slightly separate design for mobile devices, and I'll show you guys how to do that later on in this video. Okay, so now we want to use the 50-50, now we want to use the 50-50 rows, and let's go ahead and put in a text box here. And then we can just duplicate this since we know we want the size to be the same and everything. So just click on the duplicate button here, and then let's just drag this one over to the other column. And then let's just change this to dessert. And we know I know that this background here is going to be a dark colored background. So I'm going to go ahead and make this text color light. All right, so let's go over here and make the text color white. There we go. Okay, now let's add our backgrounds for these two sides. Let's first make this full width since we know I know I want this to be full width. So we'll go over here to settings, sizing, make this row full width, custom gutter, bring that back down to 1. We're gonna do equalize column height, so that's gonna make it easier for us to get the spacing later on. And then if we go over here to content, we can go to background. We're gonna do the row column 1 background is gonna be a white plate. So click on the photo icon here, scroll down until I find my white plate. And then again here, to make this full height, we need to adjust the spacing. So we're gonna go up to spacing, custom padding 0, margin 0, and then do the same thing for the section here. And then just so we can see what's going on here, let's add a divider module. And we're gonna do visibility, show divider no, we wanna leave it as that, and then let's just change the height of it so we can see our full plate. So let's try 300. Let's go a little bit more here. Let's try 500. A little bit more. There we go, that should work. And then let's just add some padding to this text module here. So under design, scroll down to sizing, or spacing rather. And let's add a custom margin on the top to 20. Oops, let's try 10%. There we go. And you know what? I want to make this text a little bit bigger here. Let's go with 80, and I'll change this side here to 80. Let's go ahead and add the background image for the right side here. Go to row settings, background, scroll down to column 2. And then I'm gonna go with an image. Look at this dark plate image here. There we go. And let's add that spacing to this one here also. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. The next thing to do is to add that sort of slash effect here. Make it look like there's a slash coming across. So now to do that, I've got a link down below to the tool that we're gonna use. Okay, so it's this clippy tool here, which allows us to design the look that we want as far as the slash goes, and then we can just copy this code down here and it's gonna put it into our website for us. So to make this work, we need to go to trapezoid, and then we sort of wanna get the kind of look we want in the trapezoid section. So we'll make it like, let's go like this, something like this. And you know, for me, what I did is I just tried it and played with it and sort of figured out where the percentages were changing and then just adjusted it until I got the right look. So get a good rough idea of how you think you want it. Let's go something like this, and then just copy this code right here. And let's go back to our website. And then since the slash is going on the left side here, what we want to do is go to the settings for the left side. To do that, you go to the row settings, and then go to advanced, custom CSS, and then we want to use the column 1 main element and then just paste that text in. Okay, and it's hard to see, but it did do it, and that's because the background for this section is white. And to make it work with this black plate, let's make that black. So go up to the section here, click on background, change the color here to black. There we go. So there we go, nice little slash. We're gonna do the same thing with the row below. So we're gonna add a new row. It's also gonna be 50-50. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add in the text. I'll just fast forward through this part right here. All right, so now let's make these columns here full width. And then let's change the background for this left side to white. So background column 1, it's gonna be white to match the upper side. And then let's change the padding around this column so that it fills up the whole section here. Let's adjust the gutter width. There we go. And then let's add some padding around the text here. Gonna make the text centered first of all. So we can move this over here so we can see what we're doing. There we go, that looks pretty good. And then let's do the same thing on this side here. There we go. Now let's get rid of this spacing up above here. So just drag that up. And now let's make these slashes meet. And this takes a little bit of finagling, a little bit of figuring it out to make it work, but it's definitely worth it. So I'm gonna go back to our clippy tool here. And this time we want the slash to go the other way. Go ahead, let's try this. And it's gonna be a little bit different because this section's a lot taller. Okay, and then for this we want to use the left side here to adjust the settings. So just click on the gear icon, go to Advanced, Custom CSS, go down to column 1 main element, and then paste that in. There we go. I happen to nail it right there, so I got that perfect match here. But you might have to mess around with the sizing of this and the spacing to get this sort of perfect match, but that looks pretty good. One thing I definitely recommend is as you're working on your website and you're building it, Divi is supposed to automatically save, and it does work, but I kind of use that as like an emergency situation. So I definitely recommend clicking the Save Draft button often. All right, so there we go. So now we've got that slash look that we wanted. And then to make this work for mobile, because I've already tested this and this does not work well for mobile, and you can actually view it yourself by clicking on the little mobile phone. It gives you kind of an idea of what it's gonna look like. You can see that it really doesn't look good. I mean, we've got the slash on the right side of the screen, the slash on the left, and it doesn't, the titles don't match up with the text, so we don't have the dessert is not under the dessert, it's the dessert's under the dinner, and then this doesn't have a heading. So we need to make a special section just for mobile users. So what I recommend doing is making a new section right below this. So we're going to use the section module, and let's actually scrunch that up there so it's that line breaks there. Make a new section, go with regular, and then let's just stick with the straight single row section rather than dividing it up. So we'll start out with a text module. I'm just going to sort of fast forward through this part here because you guys sort of already know how to do these things, and I'll talk about at the very end how we make it into a mobile page. Now, one thing I do want to point out here is that what I want to do is I've copied this text here, the menu text, and I want to paste it down below, but it's a little bit hard to kind of drag that all the way. So again, go ahead and use the wireframe view tool to do that. So this is the text here for that row, and then just drag it right below that divider. There we go, and then we can go back to the desktop view. Whoops, I actually want to drag that in a row below that. So let's make a new row and drag that text down below that new row. All right, there we go. And I'm just gonna do the same thing for the dessert section. And then just to make this a little bit more fun, I'm going to add a little slash here on the bottom. There we go. Now we got that slash down there too. So just a little bit fun thing to bring that into the mobile also. Now to make this work for mobile only, so that this is going to show up on mobile and tablet and look correct, what we need to do is go up here to the section and click on advanced and then visibility. And we want to disable this on desktop so that this section here won't be viewed on desktop. We'll just keep going down for all of the sections. You can do this with anything in Divi. You can do it with the sections, you can do it with a module, whatever you want. But in this case, I'm just suggesting just doing it with the sections that apply to the mobile version of this site. And you can see that when you're on the desktop view, that the sections that you've disabled, they don't disappear, they just turn this light gray, so you can still see them and you know which sections have been disabled. We're going to do the same thing for the dessert section here. Go to the gear icon for the section, go to advanced, visibility, and then disable on desktop. And then just check that. And then we'll scroll back up here to the top, and then we want to make sure that these sections here, so the section below menu, because we want the menu to show up on both, but the sections below the menu rather, we want to only show up on desktop. So we go to advanced, visibility, and then we do disable on phone and tablet, and that will make it default to the sections that we created below only showing up on mobile and tablet. And then let's just make sure that we've got that correct. This is not a new section, so there we go. So now when we go over to the mobile view, you'll see that the dinner and dessert sections that we first created are now grayed out because they won't be visible on mobile. And then the dinner and dessert sections that we created below, obviously. Okay, so here's a little issue with this, and this is why you need to test, but we need to change the size of this slash here to a little bit less aggressive, but we can check that out. We can see here that the sections that we want for mobile and tablet are not grayed out because they're going to be visible on mobile and tablet. Let's go ahead and adjust this slash here. I'm going to save the draft now. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next section. Go back over here to the desktop view, and let's add in that new section. All right, I'm gonna do a full width section here. Let's do a text box. We're gonna actually do something a little bit different with this text box, and I'm gonna give the text box a background color so it's easy to see, because we're gonna have a really busy background in this section. And then I'm gonna add a little border around the background just to set it off from the background even more. So let's go ahead and jump in and check this out. Enter in this text here. I'm just gonna paste it in. I'm gonna change the color of the bar again just to match what I had before. There we go. And then to get out of this, just push escape. That's all I gotta do. Then let's just center this. I wanna make the text white because I'm gonna make the background black behind it. So let's hope it keeps, there it goes. Okay, so now we're gonna do the black background here. So just go over to design and then scroll down to, oh, okay, it's actually under content. All right, so just scroll down to background and then change the background color to black. There we go. And let's make the text a little bit bigger using a header font here. The background's white, so let's go ahead and put in that background image. All right, there we go. And give a little space around this black bar so it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. Okay, and then we'll add the border. There we go. So that looks pretty cool. And then let's add a 4-column section right below this with some information about the events that are available at this bar. So I'm just gonna do the first one and then just fast forward through the rest of them. What I've got here is we've got an image section. And then I'm gonna put a black border around this image. Make it a little bit chunkier here. Something like that. And then we're going to add a text box below that. And we're going to make the background here black again. Make the text color light. And then we're going to do a little bit to the padding and margin here to make it look like these two sections are actually attached to each other. Let's go down to design, spacing, set the top margin to 0, set the bottom padding to 20, right 10, bottom 20, left 10. Okay, and then let's change the padding around this image here. Change the bottom padding to, or there we go. So now it looks like the two are linked together. And then just to make it a little bit more interesting, let's just change the color here on the text to our sort of standout gold color. Deleted the S here. There we go. And then let's change the date to our fun little color here. Now what I'm going to do just to keep things easy is I'm just going to make copies of these and drag them over, and then I can just change the text and the image in them so it'll be much faster to build them. Okay, so there we go, that's that section done. And then our final section here has got a map section. And to do this, it's a little bit more complicated because to use the map, you need to add a Google API key in. And so I'm not gonna walk you through exactly how to do that, but I will link to a tutorial on how to set up a Google API key, and then you can paste it into the map module. But I'll show you what the finished product looks like. So I already got the API key on this here. Just give it an address. There we go, so now the map's showing up, but let's make it grayscale and make it a little bit more interesting, and let's widen it out so it fills up the whole screen here. And you can just decide how much grayscale filter you want. Let's just go 100%. And then for some reason it's not updating the preview, but if you just click the checkbox, it'll update the map. And so we need to make these full width here. Make the row full width, custom gutter width back down to 1 so that it widens out to the whole thing. And let's equalize the column height, so when we add in the address on the right hand side, it will be there. And then let's just get rid of the padding from the sections here. There we go. And let's make the whole background here black, since we want the background for this right hand side here to be black. Okay, so then there we go. Now we've got a completed website here. We've got it set up for mobile, so we've got slightly different menus for mobile versus desktop, so we can get the look that we want. And then last thing to do is, of course, just check to make sure everything looks good in when you exit the Visual Builder. So click on Save Draft. Make sure you always save. Try to save regularly. And then click on Exit Visual Builder. Alright, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope you got some tips that you can use on your own website. If you like this video, I'm going to put together a whole playlist of videos just like this, so be sure to check that out. I'll have a whole listing of them also on my website. And for more tips and tricks just like this, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and visit me at realwebsitehints.com. Thanks for watching.